Kevin Carr of 7M Pictures said, "It's an over-the-top spectacle of action, violence, and I loved it." Ali Gray of the shiznit.co.uk said, "Ultimately, a passable new Die Hard movie is more than any one of us ever really expected, and that in itself is worth a jolly old yippee-ki-yay." And Jay Antani of Cinema Writer called it Fred Flintstone in the Land of the Jetsons. On this episode of Ruined Childhoods, we decide the fate of Live Free or Die Hard.
Sequel. Reboot. Which one will it be?
The Ruined Childhoods Podcast.
Greetings, Starfighters! Welcome to Ruined Childhoods. I am one half of the hosting team. I guess if we were in the Gunstar ship, I suppose I would be Grig. I guess I'd be...
You think you would be Grig?
I mean, you would be Grig?
I don't know.
Your technical prowess, perhaps, would qualify you.
Well,
I'd be Alex.
okay.
I'd be the neophyte.
All right, Dan, if we're talking about technical prowess, that is a perfect way for me to get into my technical apologies for my snafu with the last episode, Police Academy 4 Citizens on Patrol. I'm not going to go bore people with the details, but I made some mistakes. I ended up having to repost the episode. If you were one of the people who tried listening to it originally and only heard Dan's voice, I'm sorry.
Or
if you tried,
you're welcome.
If you tried, French Fry Phil told me that he had a good time trying to imagine what the other side of the conversation was. So
French Fry Phil can see the sun on a cloud-covered day.
And honestly, if anybody can probably figure out what the other side of one of our conversations would be, I'd say it's probably French Fry Phil more than even our brother Scott.
Yeah,
Scott, who has known us for decades, rarely knows what you and I are talking about, even though he's lived in the same house with us for a very long time.
He knows more than he lets on.
I think you're very right. But we've got some reboot, remake, prequel, sequel news to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
So, Dan, have you seen the trailer for the new It movie?
No, I have. Yeah, I just saw that it was on, and there just has not been a good time for me to watch it.
Have you seen It?
I have. I have seen It Part 1.
Chapter 1, I guess.
Chapter 1. I've seen the new... Yeah.
Yes. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was pretty dang good.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, so for me, and it's interesting because I feel like this is one of those movies that people have referred to as a remake, which it's not.
It is not. Correct.
It's just a new adaptation of a book.
Yes.
So yeah. So anyway, so in my mind, it's like Tim Curry as Pennywise was what made the original early 90s, I guess it was an ABC miniseries.
Yeah, TV movie miniseries. Yeah,
they did like a different Stephen King one each year. So
right.
So for it, I remember Tim Curry's performance was really what made that movie creepy. I mean, all due respect to the actors in that movie.
Sure.
Who were
no
great.
one talks about anything else about that movie except Tim Curry.
Yeah, I mean, meanwhile, you've got John Ritter in that cast. You've got I'm drawing a blank on his name. He was on the Americans. He was on the Waltons back in the day.
The only when you said the Americans, I was like Frank Langella.
No. I would never draw a blank on Frank.
It's been a long
Langella's
day.
name.
We're recording pretty late at night.
It's been a long week. So anyway, back to the point. Yeah, no, I thought they did a great job updating it.
Yeah, and the teaser for It Chapter 2 looks awesome. Like, it is chilling. And like it starts off with most of a scene, really, and then it goes into flashes of what some of the other things that you'll see in it. And I mean, it's got Jessica Chastain, James McAvoy, Bill Hader, and the casting all really makes sense given the characters that they're playing as being the older versions of some of the main characters from the first It movie. And it does have the cast from the original because it does also, it kind of flips back and forth, I believe. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. I'm trying to figure out. I feel like there were like plans for a Stephen King cinematic universe that.
The Derryverse, the New Hampshire verse,
the Castle Rockiverse. No,
Castle Rockiverse.
Yeah, whatever it would be, King's Realm. I don't know.
Oh boy,
but I don't know if that fell through because the adaptation of Dark Tower was pretty bad.
Well, once they reboot Maximum Overdrive, I think that's when it's going to really kick into gear.
Pun intended, I hope.
It certainly was not until halfway through the word gear.
Nice. Well done.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the other thing I wanted to talk about is a cliffhanger reboot that is rumored.
I read something about this.
It will be allegedly directed by Anna Lily Amanpour, who directed A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. I don't know what to say other than, okay, why not?
I think, cliffhanger is on our roster. If it's not, it should be. But I'll just my hot take on that is a remake of Cliffhanger could potentially be really good.
Yeah, it's like, why not?
I'm a fan of the original. I of course remember seeing it in the theater. Have the stub.
And of course, Sylvester Stallone is in John Lithgow. Is that right?
Yeah.
I can't believe I even remember that much about that movie.
Nice. It was John Lithgow in the British accent period of his career, right, which was like Ricochet and Cliffhanger. It was like 1993, basically. Was like John Lithgow was like, just doing British accents.
This on.
Yep.
Just going to try this on for a minute and see what happens.
Yep.
So anyway, those are the news bits I've got. We are recording this on Friday, May 10th in the evening. So that's where we are. Anything can happen between now and when we release on Tuesday.
Who knows? News is breaking all the time in the world of reboots, remakes, sequels, prequels, spin-offs,
etc.
Yes.
Reimaginations, as we've just discussed.
Re-ups, redowns. Yeah. Yes.
Did you have anything in mind?
Oh, I just thought I would tell the story because I'd sent you a photo earlier today and posted it on our Instagram at Rune Childhoods Pod of the construction crane across the street from the high school where I teach lifting a porta potty. Now, to put things in context,
what are the odds?
Seriously, and it's like, just what are the odds in general? But what are the odds that A, this would be happening not just across the street from my high school, but across the street from the football field.
And Dan is a teacher at the high school, not a student.
Right. Correct. No, yes.
So, if you listen to the last episode of the show or are just familiar with Police Academy 4 Citizens on Patrol, one of the major pranks that the gang pulls on Proctor is he goes into a porta potty, they get a crane to lift him onto a football field.
They commandeer a crane.
It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and it's funny because they're the construction, this phase of the construction is closing down, so like they're actually taking down the crane this weekend, and so I guess so I don't know. I mean, maybe there was a kind of bumbling idiot cop sidekick in
Reading
there.
an Archie double digest.
Like I didn't see this happen. It happened during lunch, but it was also strange that I would find out. I mean, my students know they can pretty much say anything, and I'm not going to be put off or shocked. So when one of them told me, they were like, "Oh, there was the crane had a porta potty up in there." I said, "What? Are you kidding me?" And and all due credit to my students, many of them get references. They get like references to old movies and songs. Like I made this subtle safety dance reference in class yesterday. I had a couple of kids today be like, "I got your safety dance joke."
But do you think that they're familiar with Police Academy forces?
To answer your question that does not need answering, no. So the only way I could really explain my excitement that this had happened, my wonder and enthusiasm was, I was like, my brothers and I grew up watching this silly movie, and there's a part in it where they pick up a porta potty with a crane with a guy inside of it. And not lying, but
yeah,
how much detail I go into.
That clip may be on YouTube.
Oh,
not positive.
It must be. It's one of the key sequences of that film.
Oh yeah, it's so good. What I love most about it is knowing not only is it possible to lift a porta potty on a crane, but it happens.
I mean,
over football fields.
Think about it this way. Police Academy 4, Citizens on Patrol, just got a little bit more plausible. Like,
book 'em, tack. Because
I'll be honest, John, I don't know about you, but like I don't know if I ever, from the time I saw it at age 9 till the present, saw that and felt, yeah, why not? There was always this thing like, that's funny, and that's a funny what if.
Well, just along the lines of things in movies that seem implausible but actually really aren't. We got to talk about Live Free or Die Hard, baby.
Oh, my goodness.
So, for those unfamiliar with the franchise of Die Hard movies, which, and I should mention, this is our second installment in our May the 4th Be With You month of fourth installments of movie franchises during the month of May in 2019.
Our theme month based on something celebrating Star Wars that will have nothing to do with Star Wars, which we will get to eventually.
Yes, we will. But Live Free or Die Hard is the fourth installment. There's Die Hard, Die Hard 2.
Die Harder.
Die Harder. And then Die Hard with a Vengeance. And Live Free or Die Hard. And then there is A Good Day to Die Hard.
Oh.
Did you forget about that one?
No matter how hard I tried, no.
I watched it not too long ago for I think the second time, and it's hard. That one's hard to watch. Like physically, like my eyes had a hard time watching it.
So let me put it in perspective by sharing this. And I know we're here to talk about Live Free or Die Hard, but
yeah, we are.
But just to briefly talk about and. John and I are devotees of the series. We are huge fans, as is my wife, Alicia. In fact, a promotional bumper sticker for Live Free or Die Hard that John sent me back in 2007 ended up being part of what got us together because we lived in the same apartment building. She kept seeing this car parked around with this Yippee mother, and it cuts off. bumper sticker, and she was like, I wonder if the guy who owns that, or the person who owns that car, is the guy who lives in this." And long story, and here we are.
Here you are, trying to get your child to go to sleep for many hours.
Yes.
So,
Another ongoing saga. So anyway, we saw Live Free, A Good Day to Die Hard was released, I want to say Valentine's Day weekend.
That's weird. Okay.
In 2013. And I remember this because I was having my gallbladder removed on that Friday. It was like Friday the 15th, and like Valentine's Day was I guess a Thursday, and I don't know. I think it had been out for a week already. Maybe it's not important. So we saw that. And we were like, oh yeah, that's what we'll do the night before surgery. And this is like my first major surgery, and it's not really that major, but so we saw the movie, and between the movie on Thursday and the surgery on Friday, it was a tough call to say which I enjoyed more. I would say once the anesthesia wore off on Friday after the surgery, I was a bit, but otherwise I was like, you know what? I think I enjoyed the surgery more than I liked the Die Hard movie. I don't know.
Well, luckily we're not here to talk about Good Day to Die Hard.
No. Good Day to Die Hard is what I was afraid Live Free to Die Hard would be.
Live Free or Die Hard.
Live Free or Die
Hard. So, to kind of mention something that we had talked about in the last episode, I was living in Philadelphia. Dan came by because we were editing a short film together, and we had taken a break and decided to watch a new trailer that was released. And this is 2006, summer of
2007.
It came out in 2007.
It came out 2007. So I guess we would have been watching this. I think we were watching this in like fall 2006.
Yeah. So this new trailer had come out, and internet isn't like it is now where things are super high quality. So we had this like not great quality connection to watch the trailer for the new Die Hard movie, which we were very excited about because a new Die Hard movie after like 10 years, that's pretty awesome. So, and this trailer blew our minds.
Yes.
It's so good. Like, it holds up to this day. And I think that it helps that this movie does not rely on digital effects. It is mostly all practical effects and done really, really well.
Yes.
And it just feels like a good modern action movie. And the trailer reflects that. And it's like, you've got cars flipping around, almost hitting people, but then two other cars come and like break the fall. You have another car, a cop car flying into a helicopter. You have John McClane riding an F-35. Like, it's insane. And we are here for it. Very much so.
And that was, I think, John, that's really what sold it, was that it also, everything was as absurd and over the top as it was, it felt plausible because it looked real, and everything in that trailer, it just, you could see what was happening, and it wasn't a whole lot of like cuts, and it was like,
it wasn't like a Transformers movie or even like a Marvel movie where it's like, but this is make believe. I mean, the thought
that's
of
me impersonating a Marvel movie,
and it was excellent. The thought of a 52-year-old guy riding on the back of a fighter jet is absolutely insane. But we have seen this person do some crazy stuff before, like progressively more and more and more crazy. And in the previous Die Hard movie, Die Hard with a Vengeance, it's like, you don't see him riding in the back of a jet, but like, you see him doing some crazy physical stuff, especially with a hangover.
Yeah,
when
I'm
he and
sorry,
Samuel L. Jackson are like riding down those cables onto that boat. And
yeah, it's funny as I'm thinking though of Die Hard with a Vengeance compared with Die Hard 2 and even the original. I'm like, most of what he's doing in that is like, yeah, I can buy it. Now with a hangover, that it's challenging.
And what's so in the first two Die Hard movies, those are truly wrong place at the wrong time situations where he has no option other than to interject and try to save the day. Die Hard with a Vengeance, he is brought into the situation. He is brought in there. And then Live Free or Die Hard, we're back to just like dumb luck. He got into the situation because of dumb luck. He goes like he's a New York cop, but he happens to be at Dan, your alma mater, Rutgers University.
Are you rah rah? Are you rah rah? Hoorah, hoorah, Rutgers rah. I won't go.
Okay, so no, you don't need to. So then that's where his daughter Lucy goes to school. So he is there to kind of. Not so much spy on her, but she's dodging his calls and stuff. So he goes to like try to find her and talk to her. And she's clearly pissed off. She's not using the last name McLean, which is a McLean Gennaro family tradition. And it's because he is at Rutgers that he is tasked with going to Camden to pick up this hacker because the DOD gets hacked. Like they see evidence of a hack, I believe.
Is it the DOD or the NSA?
Oh, I mean, does it really matter?
A government agency.
Yeah. So they get hacked and they're just like, well, we have to bring in all of the top hackers to question them and see what's going on. And this one guy, Matt Farrell, who we see like writing code at the beginning and whatever, he is living in Camden. John McClane has to go pick him up. The NYPD has low-jacked his car, so they know that he's there. And the whole low-jacking thing comes back up later. Mm-hmm. So picks up this guy, Matt Farrell, and that is at the same time that these assassins who he wrote this code for are trying to kill him, him being Matt Farrell. So you have a great shootout scene, great little like chase scene trying to get away from these guys. John McClane does some like just clever maneuvering. He does the cool thing where he throws the fire extinguisher. Yeah, I was in the hall and shoots that. Like that's awesome.
It's really, it's really one of my favorite like tropes of these films is just his creativity. It's what sets him apart. His ingenuity as a character. Yeah. He sees the fire extinguisher. It's like he's got this mind for violence. I guess. Yeah. He's very much aware of what's around him and how he can use it. He's very resourceful. Yeah. So, they managed to get away from these guys who blow up the apartment. They're shooting things up like crazy, and John McClane, they don't realize that they're dealing with John McClane. No, I mean, it's John McClane we're talking about, except for Die Hard with a Vengeance. Yes, they know exactly who they're dealing with in Die Hard with a Vengeance. I'm trying to make do a long story short situation, but it's kind of hard to do with this one. They get away from them after some really amazing sequences. There's one assassin who's like a parkour guy, which is very 2007 of them. Yes. And it's like, even watching it today, I don't hate it. I'm not bothered by it. No, it's good action. It's good fun. Yeah. I don't know. And also it's like, you can tell that it's not all done digitally. Yeah. It's just like skill. We're going to sound like a couple of cranky old guys with this, but it's true. So, right. And before I go further, I should mention that this
entire movie is inspired by an article in Wired magazine from 1997 called A Farewell to Arms, in which it's described how the Department of Defense, the NSA, the CIA, maybe the FBI, I can't remember exactly, they're kind of developing these task groups to figure out what to do in the event of a full-scale cyber attack, which is what ends up happening in Live Free or Die Hard. Now, what happens in Live Free or Die Hard is something called a fire sale, which is coined by Live Free or Die Hard. And if you look it up now, you'll see a lot of articles about fire sale cyber attacks, which are designed to completely attack the infrastructures of, transportation, finance, utilities. There are cyber attacks that kind of shut those all down to influence a kind of leaderless environment. It's really just hitting the reset button on everything and starting from scratch. That's the idea of what happens in Live Free Die Hard. What's up, Dan?
I'm sorry. I just want to clarify. Are you saying that the screenwriters of Live Free or Die Hard actually coined that phrase?
They certainly did. Fire sale, yeah.
I guess I had assumed that it was based on this this theory.
If you look it up, every single mention of fire sale cyber attack references Live Free or Die Hard.
Wow. All right.
So I've got a quote from Eugene Kaspersky, who has a security firm, Kaspersky Labs, does a lot of security software. And he says, and I quote, "When I was watching the movie, I had to stop 20 minutes in. It was a shock for me. I was keeping silent on cyber terrorism outside of government, and thanks to Hollywood, they gave out all these ideas. They opened Pandora's box for Stuxnet," which I'll get to in a second. So I said, "What the fuck is going on? What the hell are you talking about?" After 20 minutes, I had to get a glass of whiskey and a cigarette. So Stuxnet is a cyber attack worm that targeted Iran's nuclear facilities, causing real world damage to its nuclear centrifuges by infecting their command and control software. And it's unclear as to if that idea was kind of given to them by Live Free or Die Hard. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So it's because of all the things that's happening while John McClane is bringing Matt Farrell from Camden to DC that they realize that this is going on. So the hackers shut down the transportation. They take over all of transportation. They make all the traffic lights green, causing all of these accidents. I forget what was the other thing that... There were a couple things that happened before Matt Farrell realized, oh my God, this is a fire sale. And when he says it, the guy from the FBI, whose name I'm blanking on
Cliff
right
Curtis
now.
is
Cliff Curtis.
the actor is Cliff Curtis. Yeah.
Miguel Bowman is the character's name. So Bowman overhears him saying it, and he's just like, "What did you just say? Don't say that. That's not what this is." And then that's when McClane is asking Matt Farrell, who's played by Justin Long. We didn't even mention that.
Yeah.
Awesomely, brilliantly played by Justin Long. He's so great.
Yeah.
So he's kind of this just like nervous, sweaty hacker guy who's just a complete spaz and kind of a perfect counterpart to John McClane, I think.
Well, as there was a review of this film that referred to it as Fred Flintstone in the Jetsons world. And it's Matt Farrell being this hacker, this guy who understands technology more than the average person. Pair him up with McClane, who's like, the fact that his car is low-jacked by the NYPD is... He's like, what? Wait, huh? As the villain in this movie, Thomas Gabriel says he is a Timex watch in a digital world. Yeah. Yes.
And this is our opportunity to talk about Timothy Olyphant.
Timothy Olyphant.
Yeah. And a lot of people know him from Justified. Dan, have you seen Santa Clarita? What's that?
Deadwood. And Deadwood. Sorry.
And Deadwood, right.
Yeah. So Justify Deadwood, which Deadwood
at first I thought
movie.
you said Ed Wood, and I was like, Ed Wood, really?
Ed Wood. He might have been in there somewhere.
I don't think so.
Rockstar with Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
No, Go, I think, was really the first movie that brought him to my attention. He was the ecstasy dealer.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of reliably good. I mean, he was in that like the Hitman movie based on the video game, but I don't think that the movie's failure was his fault.
Gone in 60 Seconds.
He's just great. He was on the show The Grinder as himself, like an exaggerated version of himself. He's so good.
That's a great show. A lot of people miss that show, John, and
it's so good.
Yeah.
And Santa Clarita Diet, which just got canceled. It's on Netflix. It's so good because the casting is so good, Timothy Olyphant included. And that's when I was like, oh my God. Like in The Grinder, he was funny, but I still kind of always thought of him as Thomas Gabriel from Live Free or Die Hard. That's kind of always been in my head. But like Santa Clarita Diet was like, oh no, he is funny. Like he is legit funny. And he was on an episode of Conan O'Brien's podcast, Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. And the two of them are like good friends. And hearing Timothy Olyphant just kind of riff is like, he's so funny. So anyway, he's the villain in this movie, which I found interesting because it's the first like American Die Hard villain.
Yeah. And the first. You're saying?
Go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
So he's also kind of the first villain that's not. I don't want to say militaristic, but like Hans Gruber is like the most gentlemanly one because he's more of a, high stakes thief than anything else. But then you've got the Colonel Stewart in Die Hard 2, played by William Sadler. And then
Death from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Death from Bill and Ted, and the upcoming Bill and Ted's Face the Music. Very excited. Yeah. And in 3, you've got Simon Gruber, who is a
Jeremy Irons.
He's a militant. He like have his own he ran like militia or like did like black ops for the KGB or something. Or so this is the first. This is kind of the most, and all due respect to the fictional characters, but this is really by far the most cerebral villain. Sure.
It's somebody who was brought on by the U.S. government for, I think, the Department of Defense, who proved to them on his first day that their system was compromised by hacking into their system with a laptop, as is described by Kevin Smith's character, Freddie Kaludis, aka the Warlock, who's like this master hacker who lives in his mom's basement. And he has his little command center. It's I think he's awesome in this movie.
It's a great cameo.
I wouldn't even. Is it really a cameo?
Well, it's not a cameo because he's listed. He's credited. He's got like, I don't know, like 5th billing.
Is also just an important role. Like he plays a big part in kind of saving the day.
Yeah, but and it's fun to see Kevin Smith. He's able to be Kevin Smith playing this role. So yeah.
Well, he gets to be in a Die Hard movie.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. I'll also mention Mary Elizabeth Winstead plays Lucy McLean, who we first see in the first Die Hard movie as a little kiddo. And she is the one who is a Rutgers student. Dan, you don't need to go into the whole chant again. And she ends up getting taken by Thomas Gabriel as a hostage. And she's awesome because she does a lot of the like John McClane moves. Like they both end up shooting a bad guy in the foot with their own gun while it's in their holster. Like, yeah, it's kind of amazing. And she's great. I love her in everything I've seen her in. The season 3 of Fargo, she was awesome in that. I don't know if you watched Fargo. No. That's another one that we need to talk about at some point because that one got rebooted as a television show very successfully.
Yeah.
A conversation for another time.
Yeah, I know. I need to see more of it.
Yeah, we've also got Maggie Q playing Thomas Gabriel's female counterpart, girlfriend, whatever.
Yeah.
Complete total badass.
Yeah. And it's funny seeing her now she's on the show Designated Survivor, which season 3 debuts on Netflix in June. But
does it really?
Yes.
I don't like to say I ever have like guilty pleasure shows, but that's as close as I can get to a guilty pleasure show. I know it's not very good.
The first season was pretty good.
Well, I mean, let's just also mention that Designated Survivor and Live Free or Die Hard, two times when we see the Capitol building blow up.
Except in Designated Survivor, it actually blows up, and in Live Free or Die Hard, it's just part of Gabriel's. I actually used this in class recently.
Did you really?
Well, I have these group projects going on in this one class, and this one group kind of want to make like a propaganda video, and a video to like promote this movement, and that's not what they're making. They don't want to make something where the Capitol explodes, but actually it wasn't the one with the Capitol. It was the one with all of the different presidents. Yeah.
Which is like so good.
And so I showed that to this group of kids, and because as they described their video to me, I was like, okay, I want you to see this. And it's like it's such a wonderful educational tool. But yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, this movie is excessively clever.
Yeah.
In a lot of the things that it accomplishes, and it does really well.
We have yet to mention the director, Len, I believe you pronounce it Wiseman.
Is that true?
I've always thought it was Wiseman. So
Wiseman.
Regardless, you know who he is. He is responsible for the Underworld films, or at least the first one. He really does the right thing with this movie.
Well, also talking about reboots, he did the Total Recall reboot.
He did. And I mean, spoiler alert for our own show later on. Yeah. But right now he's attached to the next film in the Die Hard franchise, McClane. Yeah.
That's absolutely
based on Die Hard Year One, the graphic novel series.
Oh, is it actually based on the graphic novel series?
I've ordered you a copy.
Oh my God. This is wonderful. This is so good. I'm excited. I'm excited that he is at the helm because I feel like if he does something in the spirit of Live Free or Die Hard, then we're in for a treat. Because who was the one that did Good Day to Die Hard? Who directed that one? Was it like was it the guy who did like the Bourne movies? Oh, no, I don't think so. Tony Gilroy? No. You're thinking Paul Greengrass? Oh, yeah. Oh, no, this was John Moore. John Moore, who did Max Payne, Behind Enemy Lines, Flight of the Phoenix, The Omen. I don't know. It's all very like stylized and very fast paced, and it's like all very close up. Like, I don't know, it's kind of weird where Live Free or Die Hard, like you really kind of sit in this movie. And one thing I should also mention is I was very surprised. I looked at the Rotten Tomato score. It's like 82%. Is it like it's probably the best reviewed Die Hard sequel. Well, first of all, it's the highest grossing Die Hard movie. Not adjusted for inflation, though. Mm-hmm. I mean, technically speaking, it is the highest grossing, but adjusted for inflation, it's actually Die Hard 2, Die Hard with a Vengeance, Die Hard, Live Free or Die Hard, and then very distantly A Good Day to Die Hard. Yeah. But no, the reviews are really positive for this movie. Like, people really enjoyed it, and rightfully so. But like, oddly, it's not talked about all that much. And I think that it is that my childhood is ruined mentality for a lot of the fan base that is just like, oh, well, it's, you know, it's so much better when he's just in one building and, you know, defying all the odds, rather than like he's on a plane, he's on a jet. My childhood is ruined.
I don't know. A lot of people write it off, but to me, it was like, that's what I was worried about going in. And I guess that kind of brings us to the whole like, all right, well, what do you do when you've got the fourth part in a series, especially when there's a 12-year gap after the third part?
Yeah.
So I mean, I remember being apprehensive about it, even after watching the trailer like 200 times.
Yeah.
I still remember
afternoon.
like, okay, you know, a great trailer is a great trailer, but it doesn't necessarily mean a great movie. So, you know, I was still kind of feeling like, all right, this could easily go wrong. And it didn't. And then it didn't. And then it didn't just not go wrong. It went right.
Yeah, it's extremely enjoyable. And I'll say, like, I rewatched it again the other day, and I've seen this movie a bunch of times, and it's over 2 hours long. I had things to do that day, but like I could not stop watching it. It was like 5 minutes from the end, and I was like, well, I have to see the end of this.
Yeah. And I feel that's something else I was thinking about with it. It's so well paced. Where
it really is.
But even in the lulls between what I've grown to dislike a lot about action movies is that between action sequences is just kind of like filler.
Well, between the action sequences here, it's Bruce Willis and Justin Long talking about like what is happening, what we just saw, what we need to have happen next. And it's really just like really explaining like what is going on. And it really makes cyber terrorism easy to understand. And
it does.
As we see, not like actually how it happens, but what they did, and this I'll just explain a little bit more about Matt Farrell's role in this whole thing and how he's involved, is the code that he writes at the beginning. It's kind of like he gets paid $50,000 from this company who allegedly is trying to improve their security. So they farm out to all these different hackers. Like, if you can write this code, give you $50,000. Thank you so much for your service. We really appreciate it. And they have all these different hackers like helping them build their massive cyber attack, which is really interesting. And it comes up later on when he encounters a keypad and he's like, oh my God, this is my algorithm. Mm-hmm. So he knows how to get through that door or whatever it is, to the main like server farm at this place called Woodlawn, which is the place where all of the financial information gets backed up to based on a design made by Thomas Gabriel before they kicked him out of the DOD or whatever department he was in. So it's just like, there are so many movies like this where like, I couldn't tell you what I just saw, even if I really enjoyed it. But like this one, it's like, you know, if I really had to sit down and like walk somebody through step by step what happens in this movie with this massive cyber attack, I really could. Well,
the whole explanation of a fire sale when he says everything must go.
Yeah.
And they, in that scene with Farrell, Bowman, McClane, he really, like the explanation, the written, in the screenplay is it just really makes a complicated thing simple and puts it in layman's terms really well.
Well, and this is also the first major screenplay written by Mark Bomback. And Mark Bomback, after this, did Unstoppable. He did do the Total Recall reboot, but also talking about reboots, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, War of the Planet of the Apes. Yeah, it just like makes a lot of sense because those
like,
Planet of the Apes movies are awesome.
It's like the king of reboots.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I guess
he's trying.
Yeah, I did not see the Total Recall readaptation.
I did. I mean, that's a tough one to. I don't know if top is the right word because how could you possibly replace or like try to better the original? I think that it was really just like, now that we're actually in what was then considered the future, we can probably give a better interpretation of this story. I mean, it's a Philip K. Dick story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
but that's what I'm saying.
like,
it's a readaptation, but I mean, we're not talking about Total Recall anyway. But we haven't mentioned it before, but I'm a big fan of Total Recall, so I can get going on that one.
Yeah. I mean, it's like if you happen to come across it, I think it's fine to watch, but I don't remember anything about it. Now, Live Free or Die Hard, I clearly remember, like, even if I hadn't just watched it, I could tell you about the whole cyber attack.
Yeah.
It's
I
made
haven't
so
watched
clear.
it in a while. I did not have an opportunity to go back and watch it, but I remember, I'm like, oh, Live Free or Die Hard. Like, I could pretty much tell you what happens in, each sequence and, the Creedence song that's playing as they pull into Washington, D.C.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is a little heavy on the old guard versus new guard type of stuff where it's like,
well, the music discussion,
you're out of touch.
But the music discussion and that's one part that's a little ridiculous. When, like Justin Law's like, who doesn't know who Creedence is? It's like you don't have to have them not know it. You can just say like, oh, I've never heard this song before.
Yeah, he's rude about it, especially considering the fact that like this guy just saved his life in a major way.
Yeah, well, I think it's pretty much established that people skills aren't something he offers in his profession.
Yeah. I mean, another thing that I didn't love about this movie is the sexism, the misogyny towards Maggie Q's character. That I really could have done without.
Very outdated.
Well, it's like, I do feel like if this movie were to be made today, there might be a little less of that. Might be hard to say. I mean, it's still a very, and I don't know how much of that is like Bruce Willis's contributions to any parts of the script. I don't know. It's hard to say. I feel like that isn't as in line with his character. Like in other Die Hard movies, he doesn't really talk like that.
No.
He might say something about in Die Hard with a Vengeance about the female,
the Simon's accomplice.
Yeah, I can't remember
partner.
If there was anything that he said in that one, but anyway, I do feel like that would be altered at least a little bit.
Yeah, but
yeah,
I'm sorry. I brought it up earlier, and then we kind of tangented away. But in as far as reviving a series, adding a fourth part, it's not like the public. There was not public outcry for a revival of the Die Hard series. It was kind of. I mean, I remember hearing they were making a new Die Hard, and just feeling really skeptical. But so, I think the Farrell character. Throwing in just the whole idea of cyber terrorism and saying like, okay, like we've done this, we've done this kind of terrorism, we've done that. What's really keeping, like, what do we want to address with this? And just the cyber terrorism. Also, it even acknowledges the critique of Bruce Willis being too old to keep doing this. So
Right.
you just call it out and you have it like he's this old guy, but he doesn't, he knows what he knows.
Right. And I mean, not having been involved in the studios at that time, but this is inspired by an article from 10 years prior. The script was not written to be a Die Hard movie originally. Right. So at some point there must have been a conversation that was like, well, what if this was John McClane? How could we make that work? And I think that it totally does. And it's kind of surprising how it does.
But I think I like they changed a few things up. Like it's the first Die Hard movie to take place over the course of a few days rather than within one. It's the first to really, I mean, Die Hard with a Vengeance goes kind of all over New York, but that's pretty much it. Here we're going to, is it
all
West
over
Virginia
the East Coast, pretty much.
Yeah. Camden, New Jersey, the murder capital of the United States. Rutgers, which by the way, I every time it's come up, I've been wanting to say it, but that is not at all the Rutgers campus.
No, it's USC. Also, just the geography in this movie. It's that part of the East Coast isn't all that huge, but and I can the drive from Camden to DC. Yeah, I guess overnight with no traffic, you could do that pretty easily.
Yeah, 3 hours.
And if you have a helicopter, you could certainly get to Baltimore. But like some of the other things where it's like, they got there pretty quickly, and they don't actually explain where Woodlawn is.
West Virginia.
Is it?
I'm almost positive it's West Virginia.
Okay. Well, fair enough. But I don't know. It's kind of like, whatever. It's a Die Hard movie, You kind of have to do that a few times. I mean, just some of the sequences in this are just mind blowing, where it's just like, oh my God, can you even imagine? Really well crafted. And also just like some of the ways in which like Thomas Gabriel, kind of gets back at John McClane and uses their technologies to go against him are really clever. He's, thinks on his feet really good. His main hacker guy, who is played by, I just had it in front of me a second ago. Let's see, Jonathan Sadowski. He was great at his thing. I mean, especially when they air the clip of the presidents saying like all this stuff, then he's just like, someone was just like, man, that was creepy. And he's like, oh, I tried to find more Nixon.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like his delivery and that was pretty good. I don't know. It's just, it's a solid movie. I don't know. I mean, what would you do with this? And you can look at it, I'm asking you like as a franchise or just as this movie as a standalone, like what would your thoughts be about A Life Beyond Live Free or Die Hard?
I would say as far as like things picking up from Live Free or Die Hard. So is this kind of disregarding A Good Day to Die Hard? Or
yeah, kind of. I mean, so A Good Day to Die Hard, he's with his son, who is a hired killer.
Isn't he a CIA?
I think he is CIA, but like he's like an assassin for the CIA. Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
They end up in Chernobyl. It's bananas.
Oh right, yeah. Jeez, I forgot about that. Yeah, so I guess where I would take it from Live Free or Die Hard is maybe, and I've had an idea for, this was actually my idea for the 5th installment. because I remember, I think I had this idea not long after Live Free or Die Hard came out. And what's interesting is it did involve his son being in the CIA. So, but I remember having the idea and just thinking like, because I feel like the common theme is like John McClane saves the country, or a lot of people at least, every few years. And where does he end up? It's, what does he get from it? Nothing. And
yeah,
I just imagined that he would kind of eventually just like get sick of it. And it's like, either he's pissed, frustrated, drunk, whatever, because he doesn't get the recognition he deserves, or it's because he felt he was never got what he felt he was owed by the government. And whenever people say, oh yeah, hey, aren't you that, it's kind of like he ended up, rather than being like a national hero, not that that's like what he ever wanted, but just time after time after time. And he ends up being more of like, oh, you're that guy from the tower thing, right? Or,
yeah.
But so I'm imagining just John McClane just kind of saying, screw it. And like heading off to like, maybe he's going to go to Scotland and reconnect with his roots. And I did research the name to make sure it was Scottish before. So I imagine him just kind of like in a pub in rural Scotland where he is just kind of like, I want to go somewhere where no one knows me, no one gives a shit. And
he's just like a bare knuckle boxer in like the basement of a bar. That was very alliterative.
Serious, a bare knuckle. Yeah, no, he transports himself to the late 19th century. I'm imagining him in this bar and he gets approached and he ends up getting recruited by a terrorist network that wants to attack the United States. And I was thinking, I was like, it could even be like, what if, all right, Nakatomi Plaza now, like 30 whatever years later, is, I don't know, some, like it has some other significance, or it's, I don't know, it's a Trump Tower now or something. I don't know. And they want to.
Oh, you mean where Bruce Willis lives?
Yeah. I get, yeah. All right. Oh, I'm going to scuttle away from that one. So I don't have it all fleshed out, but so this terrorist network is like, all right, this guy, we've seen this guy, we know who he is, we know what he can do. And that's how they kind of, that's how they recruit him. And he's kind of like whatever, yippee-ki-yay. So,
well, I'm just gonna poke one hole in that. You're not done.
Oh no.
Oh, well, the one hole I'll poke is that in Live Free or Die Hard, when he's in the like alley with Justin Long and they're trying to connect to that cell phone, Justin Long's character says something about the country and John McClane, where what he says is just like, I can't believe it, but like when I first heard about the idea of a fire sale, I thought that it would be cool if someone could pull it off. And John McClane's just like, you thought it'd be cool? Like, this is a country. Like, he's getting all very pro-America.
Well, yeah, he says something like, if just someone just like crashed the system, he goes, it's not a system, it's a country or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
It's something like that. Yeah, but you know what? He felt that way at that point. So, but what if now, I mean, whenever this would be made, it's however many years later, and it's like, maybe it's just, enough is enough. And so, but anyway, I'm not done. So, this terrorist network recruits John McClane. He's like, all right, whatever, I'm game. Now, what he doesn't know is that this this terrorist network is also being tracked by this Interpol hotshot, last name of Gruber.
Oh, of course.
Yes. So he is a relative somehow of he's connected to the Gruber family. He has sought to, kind of like bring some respect back to the name. And he's like, you know what, is like, we got a bunch of criminals in the family, like, and he's kind of monitoring all this. He sees McClane joining in. So now he's kind of like, that's lighting a fire under him, to not just be like, all right, yeah, we're just going to surveil these guys and whatever. Now, what this young Agent Gruber does not know is that McClane is actually working undercover and that he's being handled by his CIA agent son, who's they've concocted, they've determined that after years and years of trying to get someone inside this network, he was the guy, this was the guy to do it. So
interesting.
So you end up having Gruber. You end up having like Gruber and McClane, Jack McClane, really having to work together. And this could be and it would be called Old Habits Die Hard.
I love it.
But I kind of always imagined it as being, maybe it's the one where McClane, does die hard.
Mm. Yeah.
And I don't know. So that's kind of always been my idea for a final Die Hard.
Yeah. Oh, very cool.
I mean, what are your thoughts? What would you do?
This one ends with Lucy McClane and Matt Farrell having a little pseudo flirtation. Like, they don't flirt with each other, but they kind of make eyes around each other. And John McClane is kind of, not really, but kind of.
He flirts.
And I like the idea of, Mary Elizabeth Winstead and Justin Long. Let's follow them. Like, maybe they've caught the bug from this experience to like get into some form of law enforcement. Maybe it is FBI. And in order for them to, catch this, maybe some huge terrorist or something like that, they use John McClane as bait because he's the one that trouble seems to find. So unbeknownst to him, maybe they are kind of hanging around him under the guise of like trying to reunite the family, because that's always been a big thing with these movies is like his family is so torn apart because he's so focused on his work. Like, he just he's a bad dad and a bad partner. So it's like, maybe it's like they're under the guise of trying to get close to him. They're actually just using him as bait in order. And then of course there's, it works. So then you just have, and perhaps it is the Gruber family that they're trying to bait.
Who knows, right? Now, would you, initially it was at least rumored, if not planned, that Samuel L. Jackson would return as Zeus in Live Free or Die Hard, which ended up not happening. Would you, where do you see any characters like that? Like an Al Powell, or who does he? Samantha Coleman.
Well,
Samantha Coleman is the most irritating journalist in cinematic history.
Yeah, I feel like you'd be doing the fans a great service by including Al Powell, Reginald VelJohnson. Like, maybe he is retired and just trying to like live his life, and like he plays cards with Al Powell and Zeus. Like, they're his buddies. They're all living in New York, let's say. It's just like...
What about Florida? I feel like Florida would be... Because it just seems like it's a...
Is there going to be a fan boat chase in it? That's an Assignment Miami Beach Police Academy 5 reference right there.
Yeah. Yes. No, but I feel like there's just a lot of, I feel like it seems like Florida just seems to be kind of maybe more corruption happens more easily there. I feel like you end up reading about a lot of like, different like prostitution rings and,
Well, what if it's like in New York, but just like in the Catskills somewhere? The Borscht Belt Die Hard.
It's just the three of them doing like stand up it's kind of Mr. Saturday Night. If anyone remembers that Billy Crystal classic.
No, they don't. Nobody does. No one remembers that movie.
It really has its moments.
But as you were just talking about, by the way, a couple minutes ago, Die Hard with a Vengeance, it made me think in Die Hard with a Vengeance, a big device used is also a device used in Police Academy 4, Citizens on Patrol, and that is the game Simon Says.
Indeed. And John, I'm about to make another Police Academy connection.
Okay.
So in Die Hard with a Vengeance, it's in New York, and McClane is working with the other, NYPD cops, one of whom is played by Colleen Camp, aka Mrs. Tackleberry.
Mrs. Tackleberry, yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God, I did not, because you see her in With a Vengeance, right?
Yeah. She's got a pretty big part in that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure my friend Ray used to work. It might have been her personal. Ray's a fan of the show. He's a listener.
Oh, hey, Ray.
Hey, Ray. Ray, if I remember correctly, you worked with or for Colleen Camp back in your LA days. So I guess if she ever told you any Police Academy stories, we'd love to hear them.
Yeah, and I mean, and if you do know any, then why are you holding out is what I want to know.
No.
It's ruinedchildhoodspot@gmail.com if you have any Colleen Camp stories out there. So also when my wife and I were when she was pregnant with our kid, before we had picked a name on our list of names, was Carmine Lorenzo, which is like the police chief. It's just like you just see his name like on the glass, like the frosted glass door. It says Carmine Lorenzo.
Is that Dennis Franz in Die Hard 2? It is Dennis
Franz, and it's just like, man, what a great name. No, it's not Dennis Franz. It's the
other guy.
Yeah,
no,
I'm
Carmine. Because the traffic cop is his brother.
Yeah, I'm just looking it up right now, but it's Carmine. Oh, come on. Oh, I guess it's not in the first like 20 characters in this movie.
In Die Hard 2?
Carmine. No, it's Die Hard with a Vengeance.
No, Carmine Lorenzo's Die Hard 2.
Is it really?
Yep.
Man, I had it so in my head that it was in the police station when they bring him in at the beginning of the movie.
Now, Carmine Lorenzo is I'm almost positive is the Dennis Franz character in who's like the airport police chief. Carmine Lorenzo, Dennis Franz. Yeah.
All right, you're right. But anyway, I just love that name. It's just a great name.
It's a great. Agreed.
So, Dan, I gotta ask. I know that this one is a little bit more recent. It was only 12 years ago. But do you remember your experience seeing Live Free or Die Hard for the first time?
Way too recent. No, I am pretty sure that I saw that up at the Palisades Mall with I'm pretty sure Sean and Westy.
Oh,
Sean,
very cool.
Sean and Westy. 5 claps.
That would make sense to nobody listening to this podcast except one person, and that's Scott. Hello, Scott. Okay.
So I'm pretty sure I saw it with them. Trying to remember if anyone else was along for that ride, but and that theater is great. That was like every every theater had like huge screens. Sound was great. So, I just remember really enjoying it and being really happy that the part 4 in the Die Hard series was really good. So yeah. Do you remember your experience?
I do. I mean, this luckily was not terribly long ago, but it was an advanced screening of the movie, and I had just recently, like a month prior, maybe 2 months prior, moved to Los Angeles, and I brought a friend of mine, Josh, to the theater. It was in Rancho Cucamonga, California, which is outside of LA, maybe an hour outside of LA. But it was my opportunity to see the movie as soon as possible. And I remember we were sitting on towards the right side. It was like not the center cluster of seats, but the right cluster of seats. And I loved every second of it. It sure was great.
This is, I feel like this is the first, I feel like the shoe's on the other foot here. You have this very vivid recollection.
This was only 12 years ago. It's a little different.
Yeah, I don't know. My head stopped retaining things around then. So, yeah.
Well, this was also
at that point it was like it's like brain, you're either going to hang on to like remembering where you sat for every movie you saw from 1986 to 1995, or you can remember new stuff. And I was like, I'm going to hang on to that old stuff. I think I'm going to need it someday.
I'm going to have a podcast one day and someone's like, what's a podcast?
Yeah. So I don't know, but I'm going to need to know this stuff for it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
New stuff not important.
I think that because the experience of seeing a new Die Hard movie, I mean, certainly my first Die Hard movie in the theater when it first is coming out. I mean, I'd have to imagine I didn't see Die Hard with a Vengeance in the theater.
No, actually, neither did I. The only Die Hard movie I had seen in the theater prior to Live Free or Die Hard was Die Hard 2, Die Harder, the first R-rated movie I saw in the theater.
Is that true?
Yeah, at the Linden cinemas back in the day, like the Linden, New Jersey movie theater, where like the seats were facing one way and the screen was like you had to turn your head at a good 45-degree angle. But I remember that. Yeah, me and Kenny Lawson.
Okay,
hanging
haven't
out,
heard that name in a long time.
Going to check out Die Hard 2.
Yeah, Die Harder. So yeah, if any of you remember anything about your experiences seeing any of the Die Hard movies, especially Live Free or Die Hard, or want to share your thoughts about the continuation of the Die Hard franchise, ruinchildhoodspod@gmail.com. You could write to us if you want to record a voice memo and send that to us. We can play it on the show. Dan, any thoughts?
Well, yeah. So I was just kind of curious to, you watched the movie more recently than I did. I forget, is Thomas Gabriel arrested at the end or killed?
Oh, so he's killed because, and this is a spoiler alert, but he first holds his gun up to John McClane's head, trying to get Matt Farrell to finish doing his decryption or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then what he does is he takes the gun, holds it up to John McClane's chest, but he's standing behind John McClane. So then he's like, on your tombstone, it should say always in the wrong place at the wrong time. And he's like, no, it should say yippee-ki-yay, mother. And then he pulls the trigger and it goes through him and into Thomas Gabriel's heart.
Now I remember. And that, by the way, depending on whether you watched the unrated version on DVD or the theatrical version was rated PG-13 and didn't have any F-bombs, but which I feel like they should have just allowed it for that. I mean, if Beetlejuice can say it.
Also, it's like, I'm pretty sure that in PG-13, you get like one time to say it as long as it's not like in a sexual way.
Yeah.
Then I don't know if those are more recent rules or what the deal is, but yeah, I mean, that would have been the time to do it.
I mean, otherwise, like, I really have no problem with the PG-13 rating. I'm like,
Yeah.
I just want to hear the line.
I mean, I didn't think it was a problem that wasn't there.
No,
you know,
I
a
know.
lot of
It
people seem
wasn't
to
a
be
problem.
bothered by it, but I didn't really care.
I'm nitpicking. Anyway, yeah, so no, I was just, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, how else do you kind of reincorporate the plot of 4 in something ongoing? I'm like, it would be really kind of interesting if, like, maybe if Thomas Gabriel was in like prison, like locked away in like this maximum security prison, he engineers like a breakout. I don't know.
He doesn't get away.
Well, yeah, no, that's not
He doesn't
happening.
go to jail.
So yeah, so I have no further thoughts other than I didn't get a chance to watch Live Free or Die Hard recently to catch up before doing this, but like I kind of want to go do that.
Man, it's fun. It's
Yeah.
so much fun.
Yeah, at
And
least it
it's-
would kill me if I watched it without her though. So
Oh, yeah, really?
Yeah.
So, Dan, do you want to tell us what our next episode in the May the 4th Be With You series is going to be?
yeah, I'm excited. So one of I would say the most beloved part 4s of all time, Rocky 4, Rocky
Yeah.
the Fourth, Stallone, Weathers,
Rocky IV.
Lundgren, Rocky IV, Rocky needs an IV. What? But yeah, we're going to talk about Rocky 4 and just a heads up. We will also be talking about Creed and Creed 2.
Especially Creed 2, which I
Yeah.
have yet to see, which means I get an excuse to watch it.
Yeah. And if anyone else is looking for an excuse to watch it, I mean, it's just like if you liked Creed, you'll like Creed 2. But
Creed was great. Creed was
yeah.
really great.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah, and Rocky 4 is a lot of fun. So, and I watched it recently, so I'm ready.
oh, cool.
I'm
Yeah, I
ready.
need to rewatch it. I'm going to try to squeeze that in this weekend.
Man, what a fun one to revisit.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, John, until next time,
Good journey.
good journey to you.
My fellow Americans,
It is time to
strike fear into
the hearts of citizenry.
ask not
Unauthorized broadcast.
what your country can do.
To avert this crisis.
And the answer is nothing whatsoever.
Our military strength
Is
in this case.
useless. Read my lips.
The great
Confident
roar of
the American
progress
and growth has come to an end. All the vital technology that this nation holds dear, all communications, transportation, the internet, connectivity, electrical
power,
critical
utilities,
their
fate
now rests in our
hands.
We will not tire. We will not falter. And we will not fail.
I don't know how they're getting in.
Thank you.